Welcome to my garden. Today's video is all about my vegetable garden. This summer we've had a lot of cold and wet weeks for the time of the year. My vegetable garden was struggling, especially after a very cold spring. But at the end of July the vegetable garden started producing lots of veg and I was finally able to harvest some. My climbing beans are producing lots of lovely beans and it is time to start picking them before they grow too thick. I also have some French beans that are ready to harvest. I must admit that these beans are my favorite ones to eat. Look at the size of this cucumber. And also the gooseberries are ready to pick. The first honey tomatoes are ready for picking and I'm adding some basil as well. On the terrace I have a patisson squash ready to harvest. Look at the basket full of lovely homegrown fruits and veg. Now as you can see, my strawberry plants made some runners and they go all the way from the mother plant over here into this bed, and they made these tiny plants that already rooted. So basically that means that you have some strawberry plants for free. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pot them up into these small containers and then they can grow into healthy young plants, and then I will be able to plant them out later. Potting up strawberry runners is an easy way to make new plants for free. Usually you have to replace your strawberry plants after 3 to 4 years, when they're not producing as many strawberries anymore. Now this one hasn't yet rooted, so I'm going to place it into a pot. And then I'm not going to cut it away from the mother plant yet, so that it can still be fed, and then it will make some roots, and then I can cut it loose. Here. So there you go, 4 healthy new strawberry plants. I will water these later, but first I'm going to dig up the garlic. I don't expect much of it, but they're finished growing, so yeah, no point of leaving them into the soil. Yeah, as I expected, these aren't quite large garlics. It was simply too wet, too cold, and then too dry. So I was quite late with planting my garlic. Usually you plant them in autumn. I planted mine in March as my raised beds weren't finished in autumn yet. So I think that is why they're not as big, and also why they haven't made any cloves, as they need a period of frost to produce them. These are quite small, but I will dry these and then I can clean them and use them for cooking. Now tomatoes make these side shoots that you have to pinch out regularly, but sometimes I forget and they grow quite tall. So what I did, I stuck them into a jar of water and they rooted quite quickly. So now I have basically some new free plants, and there are already some tiny tomatoes on them. So now I'm going to pot them on. So I already prepared a container of multi-purpose potting compost. Let's see if I can untangle them. Nice healthy tomato plants. And I'm just going to dig a hole and pop it in here. So then I'm going to give it a good watering and put it somewhere in the shade. To get a continuous harvest of tomatoes, I find using the side shoots as new plants much easier than sowing new plants later in the season. They root and grow into healthy new plants very quickly. So now that I have some space, I'm going to plant a winter crop, and those are leeks. I sowed them myself, but they were still quite small, so that's why I bought these ones. So I've prepared the soil, I've added a little bit more compost, and now with this handy tool I'm going to dig some holes. Leeks need to be spaced out at around 10 to 15 centimeters, so that they have enough space to grow. This tool is very handy to make holes for the leek plants, but it also works very well for planting spring bulbs. So I've selected a few plants and then I've cut off the top growth because they don't need it and it's just easier planting without it. And you just stick them into a hole, like that. And you want to make sure that you plant them as deeply as possible, that way you can get these nice wide long stems. Only the part growing in the soil will remain white. The top growth will become green, so plant them as deep as you can to get these long white stems. You can also earth them up later when they start growing. And then all you have to do is to water them in. You don't have to backfill with soil. Simply by watering them, the soil will fill the holes naturally. I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next video I will show you my dahlias that are in full flower and I will be harvesting lots of tomatoes. Thank you ever so much for watching and I hope to see you next time.